But to find a new order which works, we have to open up chaos. We have to open up uncertainty, right? So I think that is when innovation happens. So we have to be creative. We have to play with some new ideas. But it is not about just brainstorming and getting lost and not finding the order again. So even in design, people talk about going divergent and then converging, right? So yes, I think all of us know that we have to diverge and be open to new ideas. We have to listen to a lot of ideas, etc. Right? But we also need to simplify and converge because the cost of opening up a lot of things is very high.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of the Luminary Lounge Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Gayatri Sasikumar, and like always, we have a very special guest with us on the podcast today. He's the founder and CEO of Juspay. His team built the BHIM app for the government of India, which has become a benchmark in digital payments and helped popularize UPI across India. Mr. Vimal and his team are also behind the Namma Yatri initiative, which is a commission-free cab and auto booking platform that has transformed urban mobility in cities like Bangalore. Originally from Trichy, he is consistently focused on solving real-world problems through technology, processing over 200 billion transactions daily through the JustPay's payment infrastructure. His no nonsense approach to innovation has made digital services more accessible to millions of Indians. Welcome to the show, Mr. Vimal.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. Uh, by the way, I'm not a luminary, and we are doing 200 million transactions per day. Yeah,
Okay, sorry.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
You said billion, which
Um,
would be great.
so
We can go
I
wide.
I hope my words come true very soon.
Sure.
So, Mr. Vimal, you know, uh, your background is that of a computer engineer, and then you jumped into entrepreneurship, founding JustPay, and then went on with your team to build the Beam app, and then went on to start the Namma Yatri initiative. And this journey sounds very fascinating to us. So, what inspired you to take the leap into entrepreneurship?
Um, I've been working in software companies after I completed my computer science engineering in Ginty Engineering College, Chennai. At some point, I wanted to get into science. In fact, that has been my bigger passion from childhood, doing something which is at larger scale. Um, and just before Just Pay, we were thinking we should educate people. In fact, we were thinking about an education company. More than a company, we thought whatever we have learned, can we simplify and talk like make people know how to think big picture, how to really go deep into something, first principles, what is intuition, etc. But I also realized I don't know enough to teach. Payments at that time, we just got to know that after second factor authentication payments, the success rate was quite poor. And it could get to the billion people. Billion people will use digital payments every day. And that was feeling a little bit like science, the scale of it. I think that's what excited us. We thought it would be done in 2-3 years. Payments is just about moving money between bank accounts and making a silent second factor authentication, making security silent, which can happen in the modern phones. I think has been our vision, but it's more than 12 years now. We are still there. From India, we are also looking at global right now. I think that's where the journey is going. About Namma Yatri, see, we have always been interested in ecosystem initiatives. And also things around us, the problems that we can solve around us. I've always been fascinated by is there something that we can do for public transport, avoiding traffic, a solution to traffic, etc. Right? So when the Beacon protocol came in, I thought like maybe this is the solution. This is the solution to digitize public transport and make it all super seamless. Something like metro, which is pretty good, which is completely planned and it's totally ordered. but on the roads, it's much more diverse and chaotic. So digitization can bring something of the order of metro to public transport on the roads. So that has been the direction for Namma Yatri. While we start with ride hailing, but the bigger vision is to create an open system for public transport. It's all open source, like we call it the Linux for mobility, something like that. So that again feels like science. So that's why we are quite excited about it. Yeah.
I'm listening to you, and you started off saying that you wanted to, obviously work with transport, public transport, and also try and solve the traffic issues, especially in our city, Bangalore. So, I mean, just a question from me. Don't you think that with so many cab services going on, the traffic problem is actually aggravated in the city?
See, there is always this trade-off between convenience and efficiency, right? So efficiency is something that has to happen over time. I think, see, that's why at least first the cabs have become shared. No, at least it's around this bigger concept called sharing economy. The
Hmm.
same cab is being shared by more people, right?
Hmm.
There should also be, in a single trip, more people should use the same vehicle,
Hmm.
and it will evolve towards that. So it
Hmm.
doesn't happen from day one. So we have to start with what consumers want first, but
Hmm.
move towards something that will be more sustainable, and something that will be scalable to most of the consumers. Right now, cabs, not
Right.
everybody can use it, right? Like
Right.
UPI, everybody, the billion people can use UPI. The billion people can use smartphones. So the comfortable transportation, public transportation has not gone to that level. So we have to have larger vehicles. We have to have sharing, batching. So we are working on such things. It's not straightforward. We have to first get traction in what consumers immediately want, and then start keep moving towards such kind of more harder problems.
Yeah.
Uh,
But I must congratulate your team for doing such a wonderful job with Namma Yatri, creating a commission-free, platform for the drivers. And I believe you're now gone out to how many cities in total in India?
Uh, See, there are multiple cities, but Bangalore has been the biggest success.
Yes.
We also have partnered with the government, and we have launched in Kolkata. It's called Yatri Sati.
Mhm.
In Odisha, it's called Odisha Yatri.
Okay.
We're also working on multiple cities, on
I see
potential
right
cities
now
on
your
such
your
model also.
your your team is in Chennai.
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
Okay. So I want to go back to the digital payment systems that you developed. So you played a key role in the development of the UPI payment system. Uh, it's made payment so amazingly easy for all of us. And I remember you telling that the PIN page, when we click pay and when we go to the PIN page and the numbers come up, that particular page was developed by your team, isn't it?
It's a NPCI's product,
Okay.
but we were part of much of some of the core components of UPI.
Of developing it. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
we were inspired by ATMs.
Okay.
ATMs are so easy to use; everybody
Yes.
can use it. So we thought digital payment should be as simple as ATM. So something even as simple as the place where you enter the PIN, the second factor authentication page, should be very simple, could be understandable by everybody. Uh, Another inspiration to me personally is like the simple gadgets that we use, which are very good in terms of UX, like the calculator. We thought about the physical things which are very easy to use, and we
Yes.
thought it has to be a simple thing with the buttons, etc., built by ourselves, not using the phone's buttons like Android keyboard, iOS
Mm.
keyboard. Every phone could be different. We wanted to have a unified experience, so we collaborated with NPCI on that during
Yes.
early days of UPI. Yeah.
So, like I said, the digital payment has become very easy for us, but I'm sure you would have met with your team and everyone else who is behind the digitalization process in India would have met with a lot of challenges. What were some of the biggest challenges that you met with? Because we were all paying with cash and then, converting to a completely digital payment system.
Sure. Um, See, the challenges are um, we thought it is something easy. We thought the end goal looks very simple, right? Because already banks are there which are digitized. Um, so we thought payments would be something easy to do as a small company. But we were wrong. But a small company doesn't get the um, opportunity all the time, and it's fair also. We wouldn't have had all the capabilities initially. Um, so something like UPI had to happen, which is a much bigger collaborative effort. We like this concept uh, said by Rohini Nilakani, Nandan Nilakani, Samaj Sarkar Bazar. So all three have to combine and work together. A company alone can't do big things. We have to do it for the people. We have to have the community mindset for everybody, whether a sophisticated person or a person in a village, everybody should be able to use it. So it has to be for the community. And we have to also, I think for very large initiatives, governments also have to collaborate with companies. So somewhere I think UPI had all these three, which just happened. I would say uh, we were very fortunate to be a part of such large initiatives. Uh, uh, See, interestingly, when we start a SaaS company, everybody would say like very difficult in India. You have to go to the US and build it out. Most of the top products get built global, and then it comes to India, etc. Right? Uh, we thought this opportunity is only there in India. We
Hmm.
couldn't find anywhere else, right? So I think that's we are very thankful for such large scale impact that we can be a part of. I would have never thought about going through such a journey. It's like in my previous experience, I used to be a part of AWS. That was early days of AWS. That also had a
Amazon
very
Web
large
Services.
Amazon Web Services.
Hmm.
That also is very big right now. Had a very big vision.
Hmm.
Um, and we being early part of something like UPI and UPI becoming so big, it just, again, I get the science feeling. And more such initiatives we should do. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So, I want to now, ask you. Of course, payment systems have become so much more easier. It's so easy to buy things online, to send money to people, just on the street. Show your phone, and then you can buy anything off the street, even if you've forgotten your wallet, because we always carry our phones along with us. But do you think digitalization of payments has transformed everyday financial behaviors in India and our psychological relationship with money? For example, like when I was using cash, like when we use cash, I remember like, when we see the ads of note decreasing in the purse, we say, oh, I spent a lot. Let me be now careful. Right. Whereas now we are, we don't know what's happening, and obviously we can check our bank balances. But then, do you think that has affected uh, you know, our financial relationship with money?
See, change is the only constant, right? And there are certain trends in the world which are driving this change, and these are beyond us. Digitization is a much larger change, and payments is a small part of it. Uh, and digitization brings more efficiency, right? So I think that is the reason why this makes sense and it is happening. And it is convenient. The cost of cash is high. In
Hmm.
fact, that is all hidden. Taxpayers' money is used to manage cash, print, and maintain cash, and the security of that and all of that. Versus digital payments is something which is much more efficient. So that is good. The second is, yes, anything when something new comes up, there are also some negatives which could be there. Um, well, more and more innovation would happen, in which I think people would understand where they are spending, and I think there will be more startups and other companies who would innovate on that, I think.
No, so you say you're talking about innovation, and from having spoken to you before, I know you as someone who loves to innovate and create, and think of different things you can do. So, what are some of the things that you think can be done on the digital payment front? which you would
See,
love to work on?
sure, sure. See, when you ask broader questions like that, I wonder what is money, etc. Okay, money is really about analytics of value. Money, or this whole what money is supposed to do is something like uh, where is value happening and who has access to how much resources. So let's say somebody creates value, you assign a number to them. Actually, that is even not exactly money. You
Mm.
don't need to always assign value. Let's say there is a musician who just wants to create music and just give it away. They don't need money, right? Money is basically access to resource, especially scarce resource. If somebody needs scarce resource, money is a way to exchange
Mm.
for getting scarce resource, right? Um, so interestingly, after money came in, capitalism came in. There is this huge amount of value exchange, which is very invisible, which is happening. I can write a program in computer here, and somebody is doing farming, and I'm able to get lunch every time in my desk. So this whole value chain is automatically happening in a very invisible manner. So money facilitates that, and it's not perfect, but like money tries to reach the people who need the resources, right? So whoever would be able to utilize the resources, scarce resources, well, to create more, should be the ones who should get money, right?
Mm.
Ideally in a system. And it's also a decentralized mechanism. So no single person decides. Like when there were kingdoms, there were this whole hierarchical level of control. But money is reasonably decentralized, though there are pockets of central control which happens. Uh, but I think that is the true functionality of money to do proper resource allocation. I think there will be more and more innovation around much more visibility on where value is getting created and where money is going, especially with respect to sachet size credit, small credit, contextual credit, uh, and also right kind of pay to the right people, all that, right?
Mm.
So I think when everything gets digitized and when visibility is high, whenever we have attention put to any problem, right, it gets better. And with the better money mechanism, better resource allocation, and better creation should happen in the economy as a result. And lots of ideas around it should happen for that.
Hmm. And I remember you saying that you also envision someday when we can use a chip on our body, on ourselves, to do payments easily. And do you think that is going to come soon?
See, all that would happen.
Yes.
So in that regard, a small chip embedded in there are some European companies who are embedding maybe in this place of the hand.
Hmm.
You can there is a small pocket in which you can just put a what you call it as a authenticator, a private
Hmm.
key,
Hmm.
uh, right? So whenever let's say you keep your hand in a detector, you can just authenticate yourself very easily. See, fingerprint is also a kind of authentication,
Hmm.
but having a chip inside is more secure. Yeah. And,
When you say all this, it sounds very exciting, but as a consumer, I'm also worried about data breach, right? Like personal data being open to anyone and everyone who wants to use it. So, as a person who was who's a CEO of a payment company, do you think you feel in some way kind of a responsibility to keep all that safe for people?
see,
Is there a constant fear of that?
see, if the design of systems are done in such a way that data is decentralized, then such possibilities are lesser.
Hmm.
And whichever data is centralized, also if there are decentralized keys using which the data is encrypted, that also makes it safer.
Hmm.
Just like we talked about a key which is with everybody, and that key is different for different people, and it is not stored in a centralized place.
Hmm.
So there are these concept called key pairs, which is
Hmm.
like which is something like a lock, which you can to close it you need a key, to open it you need a different key,
Uh-huh.
right?
Uh-huh.
So the key which you use to close can be with every person, and it is
Hmm.
private.
Mhm.
So you have never given it outside. So
Hmm.
it has never, crossed your boundary. So there is no data outside so that a breach can happen.
Hmm.
So the other side will only use another kind of a key, which is public. So there
Hmm.
are mechanisms in which you can decentralize data. I think the world will move towards that. Um, yeah,
So, in your when while you were talking earlier, you talked about music. You gave the analogy of music. So, I want to take you back to the days where you, um, I think, joined the A.R. Rahman School of Music to study music when you were between jobs.
yeah,
Yes, and
absolutely.
you played Western classical music, is what I remember. And you said you were interested in Mozart and Bach.
Yeah,
So,
more of
what
Bach.
did
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
So, what did that stint with music teach you? What did you? What were some major, could I say, life-changing lessons that you learned during your stint with music?
I think a big lesson. Um, See, I entered into music with some frustration in technology. I was not getting, that science like scalable technology or something that could be giving that kind of satisfaction
Mhm.
of getting into the fundamentals like science. Um, just before music, I was starting to study math, physics, etc.
Yep.
Most of the modern math and physics also becomes very, very large. And if you start thinking about string theory, multi-universe, and all of that, I really couldn't fully get it. I have to believe it. So I don't like believing. I like direct experience.
Hmm.
So I started getting a bit of lesser hope in that direction also. Though I found some things which are very, very exciting. I told you about something called emergence, that is from small equations in math. When you run it, it is going to create a lot of patterns. Maybe I don't know whether I can show some of those if I can share my screen.
Mhm.
Uh, there is something called Mandelbrot set. Yeah, let's see. So these are some of the things which became pretty interesting to me
Hmm.
um, when I was just getting into math. But it also showed certain kinds of um, things in math which are very unpredictable.
Hmm.
So this is a pattern which is coming from a single line equation.
Yes.
Okay. And when you run that equation, it keeps creating these kind of new patterns. This is called zooming into this equation.
Wow. Okay.
That is while running
Hmm.
this equation, and it is infinitely creative.
Hmm.
So there is no repetition. So looking at these things, I was wondering, okay, what if universe created from a single equation,
Hmm.
and there is a mechanism for the universe to run that equation, which is very simple,
Hmm.
but maybe we all get created out of something like this.
Hmm.
But where is this getting created from,
Hmm.
right? That was not at all clear, right? So because these are all some things which are extremely interesting, beautiful, and it
Hmm.
is just unfolding inside out. From where is it coming from?
Hmm.
I could only find nothing there. It's
Hmm.
happening just from nowhere. Because this equation is a single line. Let's say
Yeah.
it has 10 bytes of data.
Hmm.
And when you run it, 100 bytes is happening,
Hmm.
1,000 byte is happening, a million byte is happening, a billion byte is happening. And after that, a butterfly appears. So now, what's the point of breaking down something which is complex
Hmm.
and going reductionist? Reductionist means, okay, there is a butterfly, but what is the butterfly made of?
Hmm.
Why is this happening? Why is that happening? Why is that pattern happening? Why is the pattern in the tiger there? Maybe because of this, maybe because of that. That's how science deals with, right? It's
Hmm.
reductionist. It breaks down and goes inside and
Hmm.
tries to find a reason. So now let's say that we start with some pattern like this Mandelbrot set. We
Hmm.
open it, and we find one small equation.
Hmm.
After 1,000 years, does that say anything about the butterfly? You are with the equation, but you have to run it for a million years to find the butterfly.
Yeah.
So what's the point of breaking down and seeing what is inside? So
Hmm.
that was a bit of frustration for me in science. Maybe something else is there.
Hmm.
So I have learned music in childhood. I've learned some Indian classical in childhood. At that time, I was not finding it as interesting as science. It's definitely nice and all of that, but it is. I
Hmm.
thought it's just a human thing.
Hmm.
But science is something which is for rocks, plants, and all of that, right? It is
Yeah.
like universal. It is like
You
in the
thought it
space.
was something very simple. You were so used to thinking about complex things, and music that was very probably simple didn't interest you much at that point.
No, it is complex. See, definitely people do a lot of gymnastics in music and then play like a game.
Yes.
What raga it is, what
Hmm.
pattern is it, etc.
Hmm.
Right? So I thought it's just a human created thing,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
is, and I was not that interested that way when I
Hmm.
think about it. So now I entered into music out of couldn't find what I wanted in science.
Hmm.
So out of this was the only option, and I just entered into music. And near our my previous office, there was A.R. Rahman Music School in Chennai.
Hmm.
So I just joined and I started studying Western classical. Though I would also combine and play because it is we are used to Ilayaraja's music
Hmm.
in Chennai in South India, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I really started understanding how much of a genius Ilayaraja is at that
Hmm.
time. So, because Ilayaraja didn't study that much Western classical music, as
Hmm.
how much is really there, and that spontaneity, how is music just happening to a composer out of the blue?
Hmm.
Like Ilayaraja can compose like a few songs in half an hour, just like that, impromptu, next, next,
Hmm.
next. Uh, so this was unlike science, the way in
Hmm.
which I used to think science, which is like
Hmm.
analyzing, thinking, breaking it down, etc. Right? Thinking a lot. You can't think and just learn music. You have to be with it. You have to actually enjoy it. You have to
Hmm.
enjoy it, right? We
Hmm.
also enjoy science. That is also there.
Hmm.
Um, so, uh, okay, just to fast forward, what I learned is, see, this is like a old 12-year-old thing, 12 or 13, 14 year maybe. Yeah,
I
before
remember
just,
you told me it taught you
uh,
discipline. You said
ah,
you said
right.
playing something over and over again. You always felt it was something very mechanical, but then your stint with music taught you that something mechanical, which teaches you discipline, uh, is a good thing.
Actually, I started getting respect for discipline because I don't think we had this respect for discipline in my older experience where we
Mm.
have to figure things out. We have to smartly understand things. We gave a lot of importance to a kind of smartness,
Yes.
but that kind of smartness didn't make me play piano well. Though,
Mm.
though there are people who will play fast, different people get it intuitively. That part is there, but
Mm.
also practicing also improves people. So uh, even now, even in technology, sometimes if my mind is not getting into something, but I know that it is important,
Mhm.
I sometimes just sit down with it and just do something, just very mechanical. Just
Mhm.
type that program
Mm.
so that I get into the flow. And after
Okay.
that, it becomes enjoyable. So I
Mm.
learned those things because it is, you want to play something at virtuoso level, but you have to start from scratch. So you have
Mm.
to start enjoying the small things.
Yeah.
See, I am still not a disciplined person. I have to enjoy what I am doing. But
Mm.
what I learned is a little bit of discipline here and there. And having a larger discipline, sticking to something for long time, long periods,
Mm.
right? Einstein
Mm.
said he just stays on problems longer. That is
Mm.
what is making him smart, right?
Mm.
So I learned those things because I saw other people who are sticking to it for long periods, very young people. They are doing really well.
Mm.
Um, See, another big learning which totally shifted my thinking around the world itself at that time is this kind of getting lost sometimes in music. That's
Mm.
when I understood, oh, this is how composers work.
Mm.
Composition is just happening, and it's just flowing. So there is no thinking, and at that time, this music is looking like how inertia in Newton's laws.
When like reach a stage where you're losing yourself to something, I think that is when you're truly begin to become passionate about what you're doing. No?
Maybe
Okay.
I just happens. See, it is maybe we are passionate about it. It's more than that.
Okay. So, talking about passion and talking about what you want, I know a few people who work in your team, and I know the team is so passionate about creating and trying to find out how to problem solve and troubleshoot. Um, which brings me to the kind of leader you are. Have you ever thought about, what kind of a leader should you be, or is it something that naturally comes to you?
Interesting, we talked about this music experience, right? I think that's what we have to make an environment or try to make that happen, right? I think leader, all that aside, if
Hmm.
that happens, then right work just gets created.
Hmm.
So I think we are always about doing more with less. We talk about that, creating
Hmm.
value. So how does that insight happen? How do
Hmm.
we know what is the right thing to do? How does that expression happen automatically?
Hmm.
Because if every step of us is correct,
Hmm.
then we are very, very efficient. That is the maximum we could do, right?
Hmm.
And if something like that could happen, and I don't know whether I am capable of making it for myself or others, uh, maybe that is what is leadership, how to make that happen in the world.
Hmm. So you
Yeah.
spoke about creating value, and I remember one of Jaspay's, principles or guides that you go by is, creating, try to bring out 10x value. And how do you ensure as a, team leader or a person who's overseeing things that everyone in your group is heard out and you're able to help them create value for the group? How do you go about doing that?
See, one is we try to understand people's interests at a
Hmm.
broad level,
Hmm.
not only the current expertise that they are having. Maybe somebody is a specialist in a technology, but maybe in childhood they were an athlete. Maybe somebody was into music, somebody was into painting, somebody was a class leader,
Hmm.
somebody was, even school leader and all of that, right?
Hmm.
Or somebody was just good at questioning everything in childhood,
Hmm.
right? They had all these questions, and maybe because of that, they didn't even get good score, maybe in the main exams. So
Hmm.
we look for people around India, now extending to the world also,
Hmm.
who are from not well-known colleges. And we have
Hmm.
this interview process itself, which finds some of the tendencies of people
Hmm.
which are unique, right? And identifying it and giving an environment where they can really make that 10x, right? We call it hidden potential.
Hmm.
Finding the hidden potential in people, which is not, which will be more broader. And
Hmm.
I call a 20-year experienced fresher or an intern as having 20 years of experience, right? So we are conditioned by all our childhood experiences, and
Hmm.
even we are conditioned while we are born. We have certain tendencies, right? And finding the right good tendencies, which make sense for us, and sometimes we even change because some new kind of tendencies people have, some new abilities people have, right? We ourselves take a direction in the company just because we didn't know that, but like new people are, the Gen Z's are having a new kind of interest and a direction, and we
Hmm.
should change ourselves, right?
Hmm.
So finding hidden potential, and second is uh, having this sense of what is right, which is
Hmm.
a very tricky thing, right?
Yes.
um, so it has to feel right to us. Somehow I trust that when such a thing happens, and when in a context when people are aware, it's like right for everybody. So collective agreement on
Hmm.
what is right, right?
Hmm.
And with their tendencies and interests, going and we call it take courageous moves, jump 10x, create
Courageous
cushion.
moves in the right direction is another
Yeah, yeah,
principle of Juspay. Yes.
yeah. And you have to jump 10x. We have to do first order, first principles work, and we have to de-risk and do it. We call it
Hmm.
create, cushion, and jump. So, and contextually, we keep finding out at any point of time when there is an opportunity. When, for example, JustPay is a payments company, but when Namma Yatri is happening, how do we make this happen without getting distracted in
Hmm.
JustPay's vision? how to make that into a separate company. And that's also small. And in a space where a lot of other people are there, how to find its own uniqueness. A lot of courageous moves are required, right? So that right thing and the people's hidden potential and create cushion and jump 10x. And few others are there, few other principles are there.
I think what you said, is really, I think, beautiful because you said, picking out young people who studied in ordinary colleges, and having trust that they, through their life experiences, also can contribute to the company and to what the company stands for. I think that speaks volumes about you as a kind of leader that you are, and um, thank you. I think we need more of such people around. And that's why you're on the Luminary Lounge.
See, that is also I myself find it difficult to study a lot of existing things. The fresh mind of a fresher is very moldable. So this
Yeah.
learning from direct experience
Hmm.
and finding newer methods of doing things,
Yes.
we have a bias towards that as a company.
Hmm.
I think for that we find our own tools, techniques, platforms. We build internal platforms, and we build our products using those. And I
Hmm.
think freshers are very open-minded that way,
Yeah.
to with a lot of capacity for going direct, and we don't have the baggage of experience, right?
Yes.
I think that's also a reason. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely true. I think many a times when we sit down and we are, like you said, use the word bias and stuck. When somebody with a fresh new perspective, who's not, tied by any baggages of expectations, I think they bring in solutions as well. So that's really wonderful. So now, you have a team, and you said when we work together for doing what is right by everyone, right? So when you have a lot of people, when you have a whole team, you talk about finding direction in chaos. What was that? I forget
Finding
the
order in chaos.
order in chaos. Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah.
how do you manage to do that? Is that easy to find order in chaos?
Um, See, absolutely. All of us look for order, right? And we, a lot of time, the biases or the existing patterns that we get used to, like sticking to the existing order. But to find a new order which works, um, we have to open up chaos. We have to open up uncertainty,
Hmm.
right? So I think that is when innovation happens, right? So we have to be creative. We have to play with some new ideas. But
Hmm.
it is not about just brainstorming and getting lost and not finding the order again.
Hmm.
Um, so even in design, people talk about going divergent and then converging, right?
Hmm.
Um, so yes, I think all of us know that we have to diverge and be open to new ideas. We have to listen to a lot of ideas, etc. Right? Uh, but we also need to simplify and converge,
Hmm.
because the cost of opening up a lot of things is very high, and things could break. While it's creative, it could also break existing things, and we don't have the energy. All of us are working with limited resources, right? So the question on how to find the order back from the chaos, I think it's related to doing the right thing. Maybe there are these three principles which is coming to my mind. One is there is always this interest in finding fundamentals.
Hmm.
Gravity as a concept was not there, but a scientist went and found that something common is there between everything around us, the buildings and uh, like utensils, everything, or small things, atoms, everything are subject to forces like gravity,
Hmm.
and the celestial bodies like sun, moon, and all of that also.
Hmm.
So, how can we find such kind of depth and commonness? There's a
Hmm.
natural longing for us, right? So, in the chaos, we will have that longing to find something simple. All of us have it. And in that regard, there is an agreement, because this is like already that order is there in us. We are looking for it, right? Uh, So it's about somebody finding it out. If one person finds it out, rest of them also, oh, you found it out. We all stick to that. We all move to that, right? Collectively, we are seeing that, okay, we have not found it yet. We have to find it, and we are searching for it. And sometimes there's a step-by-step way of going towards a kind of simplicity. There is an agreement that we have to find the simplicity. The second is all of us look for aesthetic. There is an inherent uh, interest in aesthetic in all of us. Aesthetic is there in code also, in mathematical equations also. Um, I would say seeing speed of light as constant for Einstein would have
Hmm.
also had an aesthetic sense to it. It is
Hmm.
not only about some logical conclusion. To see something, this seems like a right direction. This direction looks aesthetic. This
Hmm.
particular architecture for a system looks aesthetic, right? It sounds aesthetic, etc. So there is also kind of an agreement, like, okay, this song sounds good. A lot of people agree to it, right? So that sense is also there. The third sense also, which is common, everybody has empathy. Um,
Empathy.
Empathy, yeah. I read somewhere they describe empathy as when they were thinking about what is it to be a tree, sorry, leaf in a tree,
Hmm.
right? How does it feel to be a leaf in a tree, right?
Hmm.
So, to see others' perspective, to see others' perspective doesn't need to be only for even human beings, right? To see the perspective of even a machine which is running. Is this machine going to keep running or will it stop?
Hmm.
Like when we see that in Namma Yatri, we have to be a driver-focused app, there
Hmm.
is a common agreement which happens.
Hmm.
See, at some level, it is a chaos when we open up something new. How will it work?
Yes.
It's a new thing. There is no existing order that we are
Hmm.
following. But we see that something like we open up and we want to do something creative because there is a problem out there. And then there is an order because of empathy. We see empathy also as a large force to be
Hmm.
unlocked. Just like how you can get energy from the sun, like this empathy is also something you can unlock in people. The reason why Namma Yatri is working is we found this order in the chaos of a new startup
Hmm.
because of empathy,
Hmm.
right? So
Yes.
yeah, these
Absolutely.
these three things towards foundations like truth, towards aesthetic and beauty, and this empathy, and sometimes losing the boundary of who you are
Hmm.
to be flexible to get into others' perspectives. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
So now that you've talked about empathy, you're somebody who, constantly dabbles with technology, right? So, do you think technology can be used in solving larger societal issues? And what areas do you think need more attention, according to you, from innovators?
See, that again a very large question. I might not know everything. I don't know everything, obviously.
Right.
See, I have some thoughts on what are the ways in which we can do technology in a way such that it helps people, right? This is one of the
Yes.
thoughts.
Yes.
So betting on more open technology. I
Hmm.
will talk about what is meant by open.
Yes.
But before that, I will also talk about um, why this technology is a very, very large force.
Hmm.
Uh, in fact, we talked about this Mandelbrot set, which is this is the equation.
Yeah.
This is the
Understand.
equation which creates it. Even
Pattern with
something
a within a pattern within a pattern.
yeah, and
Yes.
yeah, you can look at it as it is going inside, or you can even look at it as going outside,
Going
like how,
outside. Yes.
yeah, like the universe is expanding.
Hmm. Hmm.
So this kind of pattern creation is happening in the universe around us everywhere.
Hmm.
And technology is a big part of it. This
Hmm.
is like the curve which scientists have put together, which
Hmm.
talks about the rate at which this pattern creation or the organization of the world is happening.
Hmm.
So this is like how in evolution,
Hmm.
at some point there were plants. At some point there were single cellular organisms.
Hmm.
Uh, so this is an exponential curve. See,
Hmm.
exponential curve. If we remember the COVID times, the
Yes.
speed at which the virus spreads,
Hmm.
right? If there are, it keeps doubling, right?
Hmm.
At any point of time. In fact, the microorganisms spread like that. So
Hmm.
that is the speed at which exponential curves expand, and it
Hmm.
is like unimaginably big.
Hmm.
exponential curve, how they expand. And the rate at which complexity is created in the universe is exponential, it looks like.
Hmm.
Uh, it took a billion years from single cellular organisms to become multicellular.
Hmm.
And it took a million years from million or a two for animals to human beings.
Hmm.
And what next? It could be a combination of biology plus technology, because
Hmm.
that is what can have that kind of a fast rate of growth. By growth, it is about more complex structures.
Hmm.
How an animal is more complex than a plant is more complex than a rock. So maybe even rock was created like that in the universe. At some
Hmm.
point, rock wouldn't have been there. Just like that, human beings have gotten formed.
Hmm.
This pattern is there even inside technology, how architecture was taking thousands of years, mechanical
Hmm.
engineering was taking hundreds of years, electrical maybe 1 or 200 years. Then 100 years ago, people thought something called ethereal will happen, which turned out to be electronics and computer science.
Hmm.
So the nature of this change is you are creating more and more complex systems which are right now post-human, right?
Hmm.
Human beings are creating those.
Hmm.
And this pattern is happening inside atomic scale. That is what is technology. Technology is about, um or software is about, um, arranging atoms into beautiful, useful things. At
Hmm.
atomic scale, we are creating cities or countries.
Hmm.
And how small is an atom? Um, See, the atom is so small that maybe in a glass of water, right, you have all the oceans put together. That is like number of glasses needed to fill all the oceans. So how many glasses would be needed to fill all the oceans put together?
Hmm.
That many glasses, that many atoms are there in a single glass of water.
Hmm.
So actually, there is so much material out there when you go into miniaturized size,
Hmm.
right? So all these silicon chips, etc., are about going to atomic scale
Hmm.
and building like cities. So
Building it up.
programming, computer programming, etc., we are just typing something in the computer. What are we doing? We
Hmm.
are creating these, uh, instructions to go and build something at atomic scale. So this is a exponential curve. Okay.
Hmm. When you're showing me this exponential nature of complexity, and you're showing me the headline which says, "Is a software eating the world?" The next question that comes to my mind is, um, do you think AI is very, very rapidly progressing, and
Yeah.
does the speed of that progress scare you at any time? I'm a completely non-technical person. I'm a doctor. So sometimes, when we are sitting, we're like, oh my God, AI so much. And then we're like, oh, what's going to happen? So as a tech person, do you see this growth? Do you feel like, oh, this is too rapid a growth? And does that scare you at any time? Or does that excite you?
I would say a set of mixed feelings, right?
Okay.
So, at some level, what is happening. Why to be afraid about it, right?
Hmm.
It is something that we have to face. I think it is
Hmm.
a challenge on all of us, right? Uh, Somebody was saying it is not even a wave right now, it is a tsunami. AI is a tsunami which is going to, which we are probably it's going to happen. I think it will be more the humans who would extend themselves through AI,
Hmm.
like how animals extended through what is called neocortex.
Hmm.
So even humans, we have the animal brain. On
Hmm.
top of the animal brain, something called a neocortex, which is formed, the top
Yes.
part of the human brain,
Hmm.
which is
Hmm.
pretty much like a computer.
Hmm.
That alone can't do much, right? So it had to embed itself on top of the human brain, and it
Hmm.
magnifies the human brain, right?
Hmm.
Uh, or the magnifies the animal brain, which is inside the humans. So we are animals which are magnified or also made better with this newer system, right? Which suppresses many things in the older brain, which also opens up, magnifies or extends certain older abilities, right?
Hmm.
So this new computing innovation could be a neocortex. So it
Hmm.
could be a larger extension of us or a larger extension of a group of people. So
Yeah.
now, how can this extension happen in an inclusive way? That is
Hmm.
a big problem,
Hmm.
right? Is it like certain few people only have access to this, and does few ideas only get extended, right?
Hmm.
It is definitely going to have certain, it will side with certain ideas more. then is there an agreement on those are the ideas which should get magnified?
Yes.
This larger technology, right?
Mm.
So it's also going to happen. I think that there would be robots, etc., right? But those robots also will be extension of what some humans or humans are thinking as right.
Mm.
Even if it thinks for itself, it is trained with all the human knowledge in internet and all the books so far which have been written in
Mm.
history, right? So it knows all philosophies, everything. And then with all of that, uh, something like how the Mandelbrot set is extending, it is also going to extend in its own creative ways, which is
Mm.
part of nature. It's nature unfolding, right, through all these systems. And what we consider as deep values for ourselves, those have to be embedded in these systems.
Mm.
And we have to, I would also say, we have to be in the loop
Mm.
in these systems,
Somewhere
right?
we also have to be responsible when we are creating these systems. Is that what
Correct.
you're trying to tell?
Correct. I
Yes.
think we have to be responsible or we have to have a sense of what we are doing is right
Yes.
in general terms itself. And that is what is going to extend into these systems. It is
Mm.
not only like only when we do these systems, we have to be responsible, right?
Mm.
Because let's say there is a lot of deforestation happening. And humans, whether with or without AI, it happens. Is that the right thing? Is it the right long-term thing? So if the same things that humans do only gets extended in a big way, it's not a good idea at all, right?
Mm.
In fact, who knows if AI is much more powerful that it will be able to come up with better solutions to include all the species. Because humans don't have the power to include all the species and also have the wants of human beings. So
Mm.
we want human beings want a lot. There is a lot more energy consumption which is going to happen if everybody starts getting air conditioners around the
Mm.
world. There's going to be huge amount of energy, pollution, all that which would happen. Like that, more consumption is happening, right? So I think all these questions, humans themselves have to understand deeply.
Mm.
And along with AI, there could be a much better solution, which is much, much more better for the planet and for bio. Uh, I would say biology should be included in AI.
Mm.
So otherwise, even humans are getting away from biology. I
Yeah.
myself am a physics person. I found it very difficult to learn biology, you know. But nowadays I'm trying to include myself much more with
Mm.
nature and biology
Mm.
because there is a beauty in it. We find some kind of being in home with it. What is this feeling? This feeling has to be deeply understood. And I also have this one of, apart from some of our company principles, certain couple of other principles,
Mm.
uh, which is you have to respect the biological cell.
Yeah.
So sometimes whatever we call as natural,
Mm.
like even a wood, is made of biological cell. So
Mm.
there is some kind of unexplainable diversity in it, some kind of a handmade feel to it, uh, some kind of irregularity to it, some kind of chaos is there which has an order in it, right? Biology
Mm.
has this chaos and order
Yes.
really intertwined in an interesting
Mm.
way, right?
Mm.
Uh, so I think we deeply understanding ourselves will make AI happen in the right way.
Mm. When you put it that way, I think it makes it very interesting. Especially, I like the way you said, how humans were formed with a neocortex coming on top of the animal brain, and that's how you see AI progressing. So, kind of, I mean, that's a very interesting way to look at it. Yes,
Yeah, I
I
had one more. The we knowing ourselves and we including
yes.
is also a change in culture. A lot of books talk about it. One of the book is called Reinventing Organizations.
Mm.
Just like there is an exponential curve towards technology improvement, there is an exponential change in the way culture is evolving with its own good and bad in it. Culture is evolving towards a more inclusive culture. It
Mm.
is evolving towards a more world-centric culture. Uh, just like sometimes we discuss, if you're able to see a village, we try to unify the village and people will fight with the next village. But
Mm.
we see ourselves as a like a state, we or a country. We look at, okay, in the borders there is fight, but within the country we try to harmonize.
Mm.
But now with the internet, when we are connected to the entire world has to harmonize.
Mm.
With these new technologies coming in, which are very powerful, we have to have this whole uh, harmony, which is at global scale, right?
Mm.
And there are these researches on the way in which
Yes, the
culture
spiral
is
dynamics of culture,
yeah yeah
progressive. Yes.
yeah. There are books. There is a book called Spiral Dynamics which talks about
Hmm.
it. There is something called integral theory,
Hmm.
etc. Uh, uh, Even I think in India, Aurobindo has a theory
Hmm.
which is um more towards even much more self-reflection,
Hmm.
which also talks about it. So I think when we get towards such kind of a deep introspection within ourselves and also a more inclusive approach, again,
Yes.
all these are what is exactly right. It was very contextual.
Hmm.
Uh, One of the things we are doing in our capacity is moving towards what is called open source.
Hmm.
The way in which internet is built and
Hmm.
systems like Linux are built, even Android
Hmm.
is open source. Um, we were just discussing about how medical equipments could be built this way, right? In the future, I think
Hmm.
it would happen. With
Yes.
all these technologies, if more deeper science understanding happens
Hmm.
and more open systems get created, open systems are more transparent, like uh, like UPI is towards open. There is another system called Finternet, with Nandan Pramod
Yes.
are working on, which is also much more open in terms of it is all done open source right now.
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, Protocols, internet. So we are seeing we have to uh, have systems which are transparent, in which more people can understand and participate. We have
Hmm.
to, the Samaj part, the community has to be involved. It has to be interoperable. That is, it has to work together with multiple systems rather than fighting. Some
Hmm.
parts fight could be there in a
Hmm.
genuine way, which solution is better, that kind
Yes.
of fight. But
Hmm.
there has to be, in general, interoperability. Um, and technology, we discussed about it, is deep, and
Hmm.
also the aesthetic is deep uh,
Hmm.
in terms of product design or even technology, the design, the aesthetic inside technology itself.
Hmm.
Empathy is also important, which is maybe the
Hmm.
community. Yeah.
So, we've now talked all technology and science and physics and biology. You're a science man, which is very obvious from the way you've spoken all along. But when in times of difficult decision making, is there any spiritual path or spiritual principle that you um, turn to, or what do you do when you're faced with difficult, decisions when you need to make them?
See, this is a evolution. I think all of us go towards, right? Um, and maybe there is a grade of difficulty. Sometimes we thought something is different, something more difficult could happen, etc., etc. Um, and sometimes when you have to ask yourself what is the right thing, right? If something is right and you're confident about it, you take that decision and go on, right?
Hmm.
So in that regard, um, really listening to yourself and taking the right decision is what it is all about. Then if you have to listen to yourself, you sometimes can't even find who you are.
Hmm.
That is the hard part. Maybe that
Hmm.
is when you can call it spirituality, right?
Hmm.
Because we ourselves have a lot of biases.
Hmm.
We also have a mind which goes crazy,
Hmm.
right? And how do you then do the right thing if you're
Hmm.
honest to yourself, right?
Yes.
So I think that's where the quest to see what is right starts.
Hmm.
And to me, at some point, I was wondering why is there good, bad? Because at some point I started understanding that what we consider as bad also is contextual.
Hmm.
Um, because what we thought as good could be bad. Actually, that is maybe who knows the way some kind of technology is done, and I am part of it. Could be bad, right? In name of good, I might be doing that, and it could turn out to be bad, right?
Hmm.
So these have been some of the difficult questions, and to me, at some point, I had to confront, looking into myself and seeing whatever it is as is, whatever it is.
Hmm.
directly, right? And at that time, I had to ask, who am I really, right? I am able to see something, and um, then am I the one who's seeing something, or am I the one which is being seen,
Hmm.
right? Whether it's good or bad, whoever I am, some thought is happening.
Hmm.
Um, See, when something good is happening, you don't do too much of this.
Yes.
When something bad is happening only, you
That's when
can
all the
step.
doubts creep in.
Yeah, at that time, it is a safe place to step back and reflect. Um, I think I went through a journey of stepping back and reflecting. I'm still going through it.
Hmm.
And at this point of time, who am I question um, starts coming up. I think in India, that question is asked a lot.
Hmm.
Uh, you have to ask that question in different ways also. Sometimes that question clicks. Sometimes you have to ask it in another way. It's an act of creativity itself to sidestep and just forget thinking and just jump into it, right?
Hmm.
Something like that is there.
So we've talked a lot of philosophy now. So I'm going to just go through some fun rapid fire questions with you. Okay.
Really.
So digital payments or cash? Which do you secretly prefer when buying street food?
Obviously, digital payments. Sometimes cash also we should try, because how sometimes some things in cash are better. Digital
Hmm.
payments has not got to that level.
For
For
example.
example, like we have to be connected. So even when you're disconnected, cash doesn't need internet, right?
Hmm.
So
Totally agree. Yeah.
yeah. So disconnected use case,
Hmm.
and and also cash you can take a little bit alone, right?
Hmm.
In digital payments also, something like UPI Lite, you can keep a little bit aside and you can secure that alone.
Hmm.
And so some more use cases in terms of reliability and security, etc. Those are all still there in digital payments to be innovated on. So
Hmm.
from that, for that, I think we should now and then also experience cash. Yeah.
What is the strangest thing you have ever purchased using digital payment?
Strangest thing. Recently, I bought something with cash only. On the road, somebody sold me some children's balloons. But that was with cash. That's what I'm remembering. Last week, I just ended up on the road having with some balloons in office, and people are like looking at what is going on.
Okay, why is he coming with
Because
office?
on the road, somebody,
What new thing is he going to now talk to us about? What are we going to do with balloons? Okay.
yeah.
If your phone battery is at 5% and you can only use one app, which one will it be?
Yeah, still WhatsApp is like an amazing app. I might have to tell people, I might be offline. So I
Okay.
think, yeah,
Battery's going to be dead. Yeah, my phone is going to be dead.
yeah.
Yes. Okay. What is the technology from science fiction that you wish existed today?
Science fiction. Yeah, there was a movie in which you can put some idea in somebody's head, that kind of technology. Though I'm not saying that, uh, or teleportation, going somewhere else. Right now we are doing the uh, travel a lot with Namma Yatri. We think like we have to travel, but
Okay.
even without travel, can we have an experience which is
Yeah, put yourself in another place.
yourself in another place? Yeah, maybe that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
You said you often tend to take a step back to self-reflect. What is the most unusual place you've had a brilliant business idea?
See, when I first heard about Namma Yatri, um, I was thinking we should build something like a metro on the road. Uh, Whether it's a business idea or what, but this is a little crazy idea right now, at least a practical crazy idea. Whoever
Mm-hmm.
does it, it should happen, I think.
Hmm.
Because rightly you asked, not everybody can use cabs, and it's going to create traffic, pollution, etc., right?
Hmm.
But what if you get a luxury car like experience
Mm-hmm.
at a very low energy, with usage, with very low energy usage, right?
Hmm.
So you have to have things like buses. You
Hmm.
have to have things like metros. But
Yeah.
metros, even to get to metros, last mile connectivity is a problem. So
Hmm.
can you, with the EV revolution, can
Mm-hmm.
you create vehicles which are as comfortable as metros or like a luxury car, which runs on roads, which are like a share auto or of a shuttle size or a bus size, a modular architecture, with what we call as active suspension. Because with all the AI and intelligence, we think rather than automatic driving, you can rather put that AI to increase comfort and reduce cost.
Hmm.
Then it will go to everybody. Everybody can have a smartphone, uh, a high comfort and low cost experience in transportation can go to all the normal people, right? I think that's a worthy idea. Yeah.
You just spoke about being able to. My next question is on that. You spoke about being able to put thoughts into people's minds, and you talked about teleportation. Would you rather have the ability to read minds or to teleport?
See, read minds, when we are in the same page, we read minds. Empathy is about that.
Hmm.
So that's some level, rather than calling it read minds, it's a lot of times alignment, right?
Hmm.
Have a sense of, something is going on.
Hmm.
And we act accordingly, right?
Hmm.
Something is happening in somebody else's minds, or you have a sense of that. Uh, but these other technologies like uh, see, teleportation, I don't know how it works and all, but it is
Hmm.
definitely with more efficiency if we can collaborate. This kind of collaborative workspaces in which we can share ideas very easily and still have order. Uh, I think that will be a great idea. Maybe I will put, instead of teleportation, I would say some kind of vibing and working
Hmm.
and collaborating system for that could be great. Yeah.
Is there any old technology that you're secretly nostalgic for?
See, I like the old mechanical things. Uh, in childhood, I used to mostly break things and see what is inside. And a lot
Hmm.
of things these days would be called junk, but those
Hmm.
junk was all gold for me. If something is not working, I'm on to it and taking a motor out of a old tape recorder. Vehicle is there, taking it and putting it back together. I think still that physical touch and feel, technology with the
Hmm.
touch and feel, I still long for that. Software doesn't give that enough, but can
Hmm.
software also be done that way?
Hmm.
Right. Yeah.
So, okay, that brings us to the end of the rapid fire question. So, before I conclude, I want to ask you one last question. So, you just brought about the fact that as a child, you like to break things, and you used a term for that. You said you had a reductionist mentality when you were a child, but now you are a creator, right? You create and you invent, you innovate. So, your journey from your reductionist mentality as a child to the creator, uh, how would you describe it in a few words? Do you think uh, the reductionist mentality gave way to the creator?
See, the first is creation just happens out of nowhere. That
Hmm.
is, it is not like energy conservation. Some
Hmm.
creation was there, you broke it and made into another creation. You
Hmm.
have few components, you arrange it in a particular way. Sometimes even just arranging a table in which
Hmm.
certain, some things are just there, just normal things are there in a table, and you arrange it in a particular way, it lights up. A particular configuration lights up.
Hmm.
A particular configuration or a set of notes in a particular order and the right timing in music lights up as a song, right?
Hmm.
Where is the song coming from? So if you break that song into notes, that doesn't say anything, right? It is like, oh, I know the notes. So I think me understanding this only started letting me see that creation is equally important, like science, to break things and be a reductionist. Sometimes I've seen people who don't know what is inside, but who are able to just put things together in a very simple way and just lights up. So when something lights up, the you see the aesthetic of it,
Hmm.
and many people can see it.
Hmm.
I think this is real. I think once I knew it is real, it's not some gimmick or something like that. It is like true, it's real. I'm totally convinced. Creation is real and very, very deep. And then I understood that great scientists are also great creators.
Hmm.
For somebody to see the world in a particular creative way, which looks like an invention, if you say creativity, but we call it a discovery, right?
Hmm.
Science, we call it a discovery.
Yes.
But an invention which is as deep, and it feels like you have just found what is already there.
Hmm.
It's also act of creativity. So I think in design also they say you design things in such a way that it feels like it is not even designed. It just works,
Hmm.
right? So there is as deep truth in creativity. Just knowing it, I think that's what changed me. Yeah.
Wonderful. That brings us to the end of our conversation with Mr. Vimal. His journey from building payment infrastructure at Juspay to revolutionizing urban mobility with Namma Yatri demonstrates how focused innovation can solve everyday problems for millions. Thank you, Mr. Vimal, for sharing your insights and vision with us today.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for having me. Yeah.
So, with that, we come to the end of the episode of the Luminary Lounge. And this conversation we had with Mr. Vimal reminds us that true innovation often comes from identifying fundamental problems and solving them with simplicity and purpose. So, until next time, stay safe and please follow us on Spotify and YouTube. Thank you very much.